person. You see those successful people, you know, fast forward, now they're great successful guys, they're, you know, everybody's going to celebrate them. Of course, if they lose the next game, it's a different story, but if they keep winning, everybody says, great, fantastic teamwork, great players, blah, blah, blah. Oh, add 60 years. And
they are sportsmen, you know, we still remember they've been, you know, around
yeah, they'll be
50 years
remembered.
ago.
They'll be remembered, and that'll be great. You know, they can sit in their wheelchairs and show the clippings from 30 years ago when they used to be great. No, they'll pass by, right? Let it be open. They can have their 3 minutes of glory. Yes. You were saying?
It's similar thing, you know, like you put a lot of effort into a spiritual practice, someone else put a lot of effort into their career or whatever.
Right, exactly. It's the same thing. You put effort into spiritual practice or your career or your sports or whatever. It's the same thing. You practice, you put energy into it, you develop your determination and all of that. And at the end, if it's been your career or your job or this and that, it's all wiped out.
In a way.
Hmm?
In a way.
Yeah, in a way, like in every way.
No, you
There's
inspire,
no way.
you inspire a lot of other people, you know.
And they also become inspired to achieve something and get it all taken away.
Oh, it's the same thing I can say about, you know, somebody's practicing a spiritual
You can
life and
say
then
it,
he dies and,
He dies and then what?
well, it's a question of faith, isn't it?
Not a question of faith. That was the point I was making before. Just like someone says, it's a question of faith, you know. If you believe you die, then you're going to die. No, if you believe it or not, death is certain. Krishna says, for one who's born, death is certain. It's not a question of faith.
No, I'm not talking about, you know,
And then but then the other side, yeah, what about after death? Krishna says, for one who dies, birth is certain. It's not a question of faith. It's either a fact or it's not a fact. Now, I may not know whether it's a fact, but it's a fact, either one way or the other. It's not that if I believe it, it's true for me.
So do you say that, you know, like you put a lot of effort, you work very hard, and instead of sitting in the pub, you know, you play the football, or whatever, I don't know, you build a business, then the God will not appreciate it, that, you know, you put a lot of effort, you studied, you work very hard.
No, God will not appreciate it. That you
So
forgot
you
forgot all about Him, and you just made yourself busy trying to enjoy it for yourself. No, God doesn't appreciate it.
So you know the will of God, and we all
Yes,
under
of
here
course.
are very ignorant, yeah? Is that
Not all of us. Some of us are ignorant. You read this book, Bhagavad Gita, you'll know the will of God also. It's
Well, I
open.
read the book.
Okay, so then you know. If you read it carefully, you know.
Well, you know,
Then you're not ignorant. Otherwise, if you didn't read it or you read it and forgot, Hare Krishna. Of course, everyone who doesn't know is ignorant. That stands to reason. You know, if you don't learn about science, you'll be ignorant about science. If you don't learn about music, you'll be ignorant about music. You don't learn about football, you'll be ignorant about football. You don't learn about the purpose of life, you'll be ignorant about that. But
well,
which is more
the
important?
purpose of life is to make the most of yourself.
Yeah, what is the most?
Well, it depends on your ideal.
No.
But if somebody
Just
has
if I have the idea that that making the most of myself means you know, robbing as many banks as possible, or sniffing as much cocaine as possible.
So can you explain me
That
why,
doesn't mean that I'm really making the most of my life.
you know, like why Krishna is telling Arjuna, you know, he's telling him, go and, you know, do your duty and fight. He's not telling him, you know, shave your head, sit in the corner and count your beats. You know? He's telling him, you know, go and fight and do your duty.
Go fight and what?
And win.
And
for
what?
me.
No, Krishna says actually you win or lose, it doesn't matter. But Mamanusmara Yujacha. Think of me and fight.
And how do you know what the footballer is thinking about, you know?
Go ask him. Do the research and come back and let me know.
Why do these players, why they sometimes, you see they do the cross before they...
Very nice.
Do they throw the ball?
They do a little cross. Very nice. You know, maybe they're God conscious. I'm not going to pass judgment on the football players. You know, maybe these football players are really the most holy and devout men in all of England.
That's not what I said, you know, like you're turning it around.
But my point is that the purpose of life is to remember Krishna or God. So if you do that, then whether you're playing football or you're building a corporation or whatever you're doing, very nice. But if you forget Krishna, it's all a lost cause. You build up your business, you build up your sports career, you build up everything. And death comes and wipes it all out. 100%. All gone. All that effort, all that investment.
For the person who dies.
Excuse me?
For the person who dies,
yeah,
it's going to be wiped out. But for the others, it's not going to.
For the?
For the others. For his horse.
For the others.
The others. For the person who dies, it's going to be wiped out. And for the others, who are those others? Those who don't die. Who are they?
I guess his children.
They're not going to die? He's going to die and his children aren't?
Die later.
Later is the same thing. You know, I die tomorrow and you're laughing and you say, he died. And you die the next day, so.
Your children, I mean, your grandchildren.
Yeah, and then it's generation and generation of dyers.
Someone's going to die, someone.
I get wiped out, then the next guy gets wiped out, then his children get wiped out, and then there's a little nursery rhyme. The itsy bitsy spider went up the water spout. Down came the rain and washed the spider out. Out came the sun and dried up all the rain. And the itsy bitsy spider went up the spout again. That's material life. You achieve something and get wiped out. Take another body, get wiped out. Take another body, get wiped out. Or I do it and get wiped out. And then the next itsy bitsy spider comes up. The son of itsy bitsy spider. Got a big t-shirt. Son of itsy bitsy spider. He comes and gets wiped out. So you've got generations and generations of these little spiders climbing up the spout and getting wiped out. What's it finally amount to? It amounts to a total wipeout.
Without awareness, you know, we could not be motivated.
We have awareness and...
I mean, if we have this awareness about that everything's going to be wiped out eventually,
yeah.
So we're not going to get any progress in everything.
If we become aware that we're going to be wiped out, everything's wiped out eventually, we're not going to make any progress. Right. You're not going to waste your time just walking up the spout again. You're going to say generations and generations of itsy bitsy spiders have walked up this spout and every one of them's gotten washed out. Now what am I going to do? Walk up the spout? Am I crazy or something? You're right, you're going to be demotivated and say there's got to be more to life than walking up this spout again. That's the beginning of real life. The person thinks that there's no point in just heaping up something, achieving something, winning something, just to get wiped out. There has to be some higher purpose. Then human life begins. Yeah, then you become disinterested in material achievement, that's a fact. But you become interested in real achievement. That's human life.
Everything should be balanced.
Everything should be balanced. We say that also. So there's some material things you need. You need to eat, you need to sleep, you need to have a place to live. Fine. But that doesn't mean that you have to spend your whole life for that. It's totally out of balance. The real business is spiritual realization. And for that we need to eat, we need to sleep, we need a place to stay. That's fine. But human society now is so out of balance that eating, sleeping, having a place to stay, having sex, that becomes life. And the actual purpose, what to speak of balance, is just forgotten.